Hi, this is Teacher Lisa, your ESL video instructor. Today's video is about giving advice and opinions, and we're going to use modal verbs to help us to do that. But first, let's read the introductory paragraph. What does it say? When you want to give advice or make recommendations, you could use a variety of modal verbs. You can vary the strength of your advice by using different modals. So let's take a look at what some of those modal verbs are and how we can vary the strength of our advice. Sometimes we want to give very strong suggestion, very strong advice, and sometimes we just want to make a general suggestion. Well, let's look at some examples. We have 3 here for you. The first one, if you're going to make a general suggestion, then you can simply use could or might. That's for a general suggestion. You could visit the park, it's nice. You might visit the park, it's nice. Then if you want to make the suggestion a little stronger, you're going to use should or ought to. You should visit the castle, it's great. You ought to visit the castle, it's great. Then if you want to make a very strong suggestion, almost as if you're really giving no option, a very strong suggestion, then you would use must. You must visit the palace, it's beautiful. I had a student who overused the word should when she was talking, and she has a husband who is native English speaker, and guess what? He got annoyed by it because it seems like she was telling him what to do, this very strong suggestion after very strong suggestion. So we have to be careful. We have to make sure that we vary the modal verbs because sometimes we don't always want to come across that we're giving a very strong suggestion. So let's just back up here and look at the tip box. You can add emphasis by putting really in front of should, ought to, and must. So in the second example, where we said you should visit the castle, it's great, we can actually just add the word really in front of the modal verb. You really should visit the castle, it's great. So this adds further strength to our suggestion, making it even stronger by using the word really. Okay, let's move forward. All right, so we're going to fill in the gaps using the recommendations from the panel. And we are going to be talking about hotel experiences and staying at a hotel. Let's look at the first example. So here, the food in the restaurant is fresh and homemade. The selection at breakfast was just awesome. So what is the recommendation? What is the suggestion? You should definitely eat there. Right? That's a nice, strong suggestion. Yeah, you should. Why? Because the food was great. It was fresh and homemade. So you can go ahead if you'd like now to pause the video, and here are the choices that you need to choose from, and we're going to finish the other 5 sentences. So let's look at the first one. Everything about this hotel, from the dark interior to the hard stares of the grumpy staff, is unwelcoming. So at this point, what kind of recommendation are you going to give? Probably not a great one. So let's look at the choices and which one would you circle. They ought to hire a new receptionist. Yeah, there's a problem with the staff. So these hard stares is someone looking at you, not even blinking. So not in a friendly way. So let's look at number 2. The hotel's employees are wonderful. They did everything to make our honeymoon perfect. So what would you say? You could say they should tell them if it's a special occasion. Right? So let the hotel know it's your honeymoon or some other occasion, and they will be wonderful to you. Let's look at number 3. Not bad, although the furniture in the hotel was falling apart. The walls were very thin and it was quite noisy. So what's the recommendation? You might want to bring earplugs. Number 4, I paid for a room with a view of the ski slopes, but all I could see was the wall of the building across from us. Maybe you could ask to change rooms if this happens. You could ask. And our last one, outstanding. I can understand the rave reviews for this great place. Our balcony overlooked the ocean. You might say, you must ask for a room with an ocean view. So did you notice each of these suggestions or recommendations had a different modal verb because some of them were quite strong when we said you must ask for a room. with an ocean view. Others, we gave more of a general suggestion. You might want to bring earplugs, and others, it was a stronger suggestion. So we had should, which is a little bit stronger, could is also a general suggestion, or ought to. So it depends on, again, the strength of your recommendation or your advice or your suggestion. Let's move on. You can also use modal verbs to give advice based on facts. These can highlight the negative consequences of ignoring the advice. So based on facts. Let's look at the first one. You should or you ought to, and remember that's general advice when we have should or ought to. In this case, wear a hat. It's very sunny. So where's the fact in this sentence? Here's the fact. It's very sunny. It's a fact. That's not going to change right now. And so we're just giving some general advice. But the second sentence, there are negative consequences of ignoring the advice. So we want to highlight that. So we're going to give strong advice because there are negative consequences if it is not followed. That's why we're using the modal verb must. We're going to say you must wear a hat. Or what's the negative consequence? You'll get sunburn. We don't want to use should here or ought to because it's not general advice, because we know if our advice is not followed, something negative would happen. So it is appropriate to use must. Now, we have fixed phrases in English. We can start a sentence, a fixed phrase for giving advice. So for example, we can say, if I were you, you'd better. Those are ways to start a sentence. So as soon as you hear somebody say, if I were you, you know advice is coming. You know a suggestion is coming or a recommendation is coming. Or you'd better, which is a little bit stronger. So let's look at the first example. If I were you, I would wear a hat. The second one is very strong. It may even be threatening. You'd better wear a hat. You'd better wear a hat. Very strong suggestion. We can threaten children. Sometimes we threaten children, maybe if you don't finish your vegetables, no ice cream for you. But you might make it this way. We could say, you'd better finish your vegetables or no ice cream for you. So we're threatening. You'd better follow this, otherwise there's negative consequences. Here's a tip box here. You might hear people say, if I was you, but this is incorrect in formal English. We do want to say, if I were you, if I were you. That's the correct way to say it. We're going to continue on. Here you have two choices here. You're going to say the sentences out loud, choosing the correct words. Again, go ahead and pause the video and see if you can get them correct. So let's look at the first example. The open air concert hall is amazing. You really ought to see it. Yeah, you really ought to see it. Number one, that snake is poisonous. You must or could go to the doctor about that bite or it'll get worse. So are we going to give a general suggestion or a strong suggestion? We need must. Yeah, there's negative consequences. If you don't go, it's going to get worse. So we want that must. Second sentence, we might or had better go back to the boat. It's leaving soon and we don't want to miss it. So we are going to use had better. Yeah, because again, we have negative consequences, very strong. So we're going to say had better. Yeah, we don't want to miss the boat. Number three, perhaps you must or could go to France this summer. That would be nice. It's just a general suggestion. So we're just going to say could. You don't have to go to France. You can go to Greece, Italy, wherever you want, but we're giving a general suggestion, so could works. And number four, everyone says the castle is stunning and that we must or could see the view from the tower. Must, we know that the view is great from the tower, that it's stunning. So we wouldn't say could, just a general suggestion. We'd say must, because you know this is a great spot. So we've achieved our goals for this video lesson here. We looked at modals for advice and opinion. We saw some example recommendations doing that hotel scenario, and we practiced giving advice and opinions based on the example sentences that we saw. And in our next video, making predictions. That's our next theme. See you in the next video.